There you
I'm
go.
good.
What's
I'm
happening?
good. Oh, not much. We've had a couple of days off, so um,
Beautiful.
just been relaxing. My folks are down. I haven't seen them much in the last year, so
Where are you from originally?
Brizzy.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you moved to Sydney for sevens, or did you move to play club footy?
No, I moved down here to play sevens. That would have been in 2014 or 15, yeah, 2014.
Yep.
Before that, we were spread out all around Australia. So half of us used to train in Brisbane, and half of the boys used to train in Sydney, and then we'd meet up a
So
week or
for
two before.
so for the sevens boys, you mean? So you'd have different
Yeah,
like training bases?
yeah. So we weren't centralised when I first started. It was half the team in Brizzy, half the team in Sydney, and then before we'd fly out to a tournament, everyone would just catch up for a couple of days, and then off we'd go. And the closer to that was in 2012 when I first started, and we used to have camps at the AIS and that sort of thing. And then close to 2014, we'd usually pick one day a week where the Sydney boys would fly up to Brisbane to train, or we'd fly down here.
So
So
they'd
it's
fly up and back in the day type thing.
yeah to train. So it's a lot better now that we're centralised. Because yeah, it was obviously just so tough to get combinations and that sort of thing
I,
back
I suppose I
back in
suppose
those
the
early
the
days.
Olympics probably was the real push for that. So a lot of guys before it was kind of professional, kind of not professional, and then when the Olympics took off, or when sevens got into the Olympics, was that the push for it in your opinion?
Yeah, yeah. I guess before that it was probably seen as just a pathway that you'd throw the young guys in, and the rotation of the squad would just be churning out the best young talent and throw them in the deep end, give them some games at sevens, get them to travel around the world a bit, and then yeah, obviously when the Olympics started getting close, Rugby Australia realised we need to get serious about this and centralise. And I guess that's what you see in the program now. There's guys that spend their whole career playing sevens, specialising in sevens, because yeah, there's an Olympics on offer if you want to stick around.
Have you played much 15s, or have you just played sevens the last bit?
I've The only 15s I've played is a year over in the UK Premiership at Leicester. That was in 17-18, and I was lucky enough to be with the Tars for last year's Super AU season.
Sweet. Well, we're going to talk about both of that. I got some good info from a young Jed Holloway on some things to ask you on that, mate. How was 2020? When did you guys? So you guys were obviously training for Rio. Talk me through how it all went down for you guys.
Yeah, for Tokyo.
Yeah. Oh,
Um,
Tokyo. Sorry.
yeah. So I guess COVID for us was we were in Vancouver. We'd just finished a back-to-back tournament. We went LA, Vancouver, um, and obviously finished in Vancouver with a second. So we're building really nicely in the season. And then there was a few like reports about Corona and that sort of thing as we were coming back, and I remember we landed, and then within a week of us being back, it went from nothing to like just absolute madness. So it was crazy. We just went from smack bang in the middle of our season to absolutely nothing in the blink of an eye. Um, and then yeah, we until 3 weeks ago we hadn't played sevens as a squad since Vancouver. So it's been a while between drinks.
How did it all go down? Was it, we're waiting and seeing what's happening. This could possibly be a postponement of the World Series, or was it kind of a delayed reaction from the AIU? How did they approach it from their end?
Well, I guess at the start there was just so much uncertainty around how big is this thing actually going to be. So we were sort of in a holding pattern for a little bit. Then we had 2 weeks of our annual leave when everything went into lockdown here. We just thought, okay, well, we can't be training anyway, so we might as well take our annual leave. And then I guess from there, as the reality of what was happening set in, the natural progression was, okay, well, we're not going to be going to Hong Kong and Singapore. So, and then more tournaments would get cancelled. So for us as a squad, we sort of just said, well, let's look at how we can get the most out of this. So if guys can get new experiences, challenge themselves in different ways, then let's do that. So while she was really good about sort of telling guys, go play a full season of Shoot Shield. If you've got an opportunity with a super club, go and pursue that. Go and challenge yourself and yeah, just make the most of what we got. And when the time's right, we'll all come back together and make sure that we're prepared completely for Tokyo.
How did the opportunity at the TARS come about?
It was just out of the blue, to be honest. Our head of performance, the manager for the Sevens program, Scott Bowen, got in touch with me and said the TARS were looking for a few guys. Would I be interested? And yeah, I've always been of the mindset to, I guess, take every opportunity that you can get and try and make the most of it. I wanted to make sure that it wasn't going to impact anything that was happening with the Sevens. That was always going to be my priority. But as long as it didn't have any impact on that, then I thought, well, fantastic. It means that I can be training and regularly with a really good team, a high performing team, and get to meet a bunch of guys I hadn't played rugby with. I had fond memories of playing 15s in Leicester. So I guess just a culmination of all those things. It was just, yeah, why not?
What is a stunt cock?
I think you should probably just go on Urban Dictionary rather than me detailing it. But
I know what that one is. Well, in rugby terms, rugby terms?
In rugby terms, a stunt cock is the blokes who are basically preparing, as in the literal definition, preparing the main event for the big show. So, yeah, I guess you could say a stunt cock is the blokes who are making sure that the starting 15, the 23 that are going to take the field are in perfect condition and are going to perform at their best on the weekend.
Mate, I've been in rugby my whole life, and I'd never heard that till yesterday, and I loved it. So, Holloway told me. Holloway told me I had to ask you about that. Oh, that's a Leicester thing.
Yeah. So I can't take credit for it, but it was so good that I thought I had to pass it on somewhere else.
It's fantastic. What did you think of the TARS? Did you enjoy your time there?
Yeah, I had a great time actually. It was really good because I guess I was one of the older blokes there, but with not heaps of 15s experience. So for me, it was cool to be able to, I guess, chat with the younger guys about how their rugby career was going, progressing, bring in some chat like the stunt cocks and that sort of stuff, and get involved in the socials with the young guys, and then obviously be able to have a good relationship with the older guys as well, like Jed and Hoops and Simo and those sorts of guys. So yeah, it was fun that I could sort of just chop and change and really get a good connection with a lot of the guys in the squad, because sometimes those 15 squads are just so big that it's hard to actually build strong relationships with heaps of guys. I guess that's one of the beauties of Sevens, is that a lot of our relationships are quite intimate and close because the squad size is less than half.
Were there any guys in the team that might have surprised you? Like you might have had a preconceived notion of them, and they turned out to be a fantastic guy, or vice versa, if you want to go that way.
No, there was no
None of
shit
that's
blokes there. No. To be honest, I was very impressed with Harrow and just the way he carried himself. He's a young guy with a lot of pressure on him. I know that 10 jersey, particularly at the Tars, comes with, I guess, certain expectations. I thought the way he handled himself was really good, and I think
that's Will Harris.
Yeah, Will Harrison. So I think he's got a big future in the game. And then I guess if you look at, I'm talking more about backs here just because I've got a lot more time spent in unit sessions with them while those big blokes are mauling against each other. Will Maddox, his kicking game's unbelievable, and some of the passing and skills he does at that you see at training, like you're not surprised when stuff like that comes off in games. And then I guess the guy that I had no expectation of or didn't really know and just burst out of the blocks would be James Ram. He had a fantastic season last year, and
I agree totally.
And yeah, it was rewarded for what was a really good season to get into that Wallaby squad. There's my dunk.
No, that's all right. But how did the training compare to the sevens? Obviously, it's a different game, but did you find it? I mean, obviously, it's different conditioning, but how is it different?
Well, I guess if you look at the physical aspect, the amount of high speed running is, well, it seems like you just get a lot more rest between each effort. So in sevens, it might be a few seconds, whereas in 15s, if you make a break, the ball goes out the other side, you've got time to sort of reset. Whereas sevens, if the ball goes out to the right, it's probably going to be back left, like by the time you're back on your feet again. So physically, I actually felt like I wasn't training hard enough when I was at the Tars. I guess you just become conditioned to pretty brutal sessions with sevens. And I'd almost come off the field saying, like, I feel like I need to do more. And then I guess from a skills point of view, it's just focus on different things. I guess a lot of close quarter contact, whereas sevens is defending huge channels and lots of different space, different defensive systems, different attacking systems. I guess the main thing is you've just got more guys around you versus less guys. Like, I think, like, I love both games, but I love sevens because it just puts your skills under a microscope. Like, if you can't do the basic skills, and you can't hide from any area. Like, I guess if you're, I don't know, in a certain position in 15s, you might not have to be as good at a restart or a ruck or a line out or some small part of the game, where in sevens, it's like, it just develops everything. And yeah, I guess that's why I love it. But similarly, it was great in 15s to work on some of those smaller things that I guess I hadn't done in a couple of years.
I suppose in sevens, if you miss a tackle, they're scoring a try, generally speaking, the opposition. Whereas in 15s, if I miss a tackle, I've got other guys, there's a second line of defense, cover tackles. So you really have to be good at those core skills like rucking, tackling, catch, pass off both hands, which you could probably hide a little bit in 15s. How was your experience in Leicester?
I absolutely loved it, mate. I went over just because I needed a change. I'd been playing sevens for probably 5 or 6 seasons. And I just got to the point where I just needed something different. So I signed an academy contract over there and just thought, I've always wanted to play 15s and know that I could play professionally. The Premiership's a fantastic competition, so I'm just going to sign a year over there, go over with my fiance. We'll just see what happens. And yeah, I was lucky enough that I got on well with the boys, with the coaching staff. I guess my goal when I first got there was to play one game in the Prem before Christmas. And I had started, I think, pretty much every game by Christmas and ended up with just over 20 caps for Leicester in the season. So exceeded my expectations. And I would have been very happy to stay over there if Walshy hadn't gotten in touch to come back to sevens. I'd probably still be over there now, to be honest.
Okay, I was going to ask whether there was any interest from them in you staying. Let's talk a bit about sevens. So when did you make your debut?
I debuted in 2012 in Dubai.
So you've been. So how old are you, by the way?
27, turning 28 this year. So I debuted when I was 19. And
okay,
we came dead last.
That in the series that year.
In the tournament that I debuted in, we came dead last.
Who was coaching?
Snoz, Michael O'Connor.
Okay, yeah. So you've gone through quite an evolution in terms of the sevens program. How does it compare now to when you first walked in the door there?
Yeah, I guess first of all, you look at a centralized program versus a program that wasn't centralized. Guys who are contracted to play sevens full time professionally. Obviously, we're now based out of the Rugby Australia building at Moore Park there. The facilities are fantastic. You look at Olympics being on every 4 years, a major draw card along with the Commonwealth Games. And then if you look at the tournaments that we're playing at, most tournaments of the 10 tournaments around the world are close to selling out. So we're so lucky to play in front of huge crowds all around the world. And it's just, I can't speak highly enough of the program. I've spent a huge part of my rugby career in it. And I just absolutely love it.
What about the standard of play? Has it generally lifted across all the nations due to the Olympics and professionalism coming in?
Yeah.
Or is it kind of hard to notice because as it's been evolving, you've been evolving as well?
Yeah, it's been when you're in it day to day, you don't notice as much. But for example, Palmer Foes come back into the team after being in 15s for a couple of years, and we've just been playing some domestic tournaments, and I know he was saying he feels like everything's just quicken up at training, in games. It's just, and I guess there was a level where we sort of, I remember in 2016, it was the World Series was at a certain level, and then the Olympics was at a pace that was just like, where the hell did that come from?
Yeah. And so you who've been in the program training full time even noticed that?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That says something.
Yeah, and I think that's probably I'm probably not realizing it year to year, but I think that is happening. If you watch the standard of some of the games today, like it's just I go back and watch old games and it's like, has someone put this at half speed?
Yeah.
Because everything's just getting quicker and faster and more intense, efficient. Like it's just, the standards just getting crazy.
I've always wondered this. What kind of distance do you cover on average in a game?
I think it's about 1.5 Ks to 2 Ks, it depends on how many minutes you play.
Yeah.
But obviously that 1.5 to 2Ks is at quite a high velocity with
sprinting,
accelerations, decelerations, yeah, and then all the jumping on the restarts.
And
yeah.
3 to 4 games a day sometimes as well.
Yeah, usually 3. The format for the Olympics is 3 days with 2 games every day, and most of the World Series is either that setup or 3 games for 2 days, so 6 in total. Yeah.
Okay, so you're covering some serious mileage over the two days. Have they given you guys any word on what's happening in terms of the World Series going forward?
At this stage, the plan is to kick off in Dubai next year.
With crowds, or they don't know yet?
I think it's just too far out.
Next year. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. It would be later this year in Dubai is usually when the season kicks off. Sorry, I talk seasons rather than like calendar years. So it'd be later this year it's usually the last weekend of November or the first week of December.
Okay, and Tokyo's still going ahead? Because last I heard that was kind of up in the air as well.
Yeah, there's been a bit of negative media stuff floating around that I think didn't really have any credible sources. So yeah, I was on a call with Ian Chesterman, the chef de mission of the AFC last week, and yeah, all the news they're getting is that the Japanese government and the IOC are fully committed to making it happen. I think no one's under any illusion that it's going to look very different. So there's going to be testing protocols, and you're not going to be able to hang around in the village once you compete. You can come 5 days before you compete. You have to leave within 48 hours after you compete. You have to have a certain number of negative test results prior to departing for the games. All sorts of different things. But I think the athletes are more than happy. I know our squad is for the games to look that way. We just would love a chance to compete, and I'm looking forward to it in July.
Were you in the team for Rio?
Yeah.
Tell me about that. How was that experience?
Yeah, it was. It was an interesting one for me. I'll go back a little bit. I did my ACL in October the year before the games, so I didn't actually play on the World Series the whole season leading into it, and we had some like trial games against Japan came out to play us in Sydney about 6 weeks before the games, and coming down from a line out, I tore 2/3 of the meniscus in my knee, in the same knee. So I went into surgery the next day, got that cut out. On the day that the Olympic team was being named, I was in having surgery. And so I got named, managed to get back. I was training and thought that I was, I guess, going to be right to play and do all the things that I wanted to be able to do. But I guess you never know until you get out there. And yeah, I think in the tournament, I found out that I probably wasn't at the level that I needed to be at, which was super disappointing for me.
In terms of physically?
Yeah, I
just a touch underdone, maybe.
Yeah, and I felt like I was fine during the training that we were doing, and I was ticking all the boxes. But like I said, when I felt like Rio just went to another level, and I wasn't at the level that I probably needed to be, which was, tough because I felt like I was right, but yeah, looking back, I probably wasn't, and I just couldn't play the way I wanted to. And then obviously it was, a disappointing campaign for us coming eighth. I guess the Olympic experience as a whole, I mean, I still remember the opening ceremony clear as day, when the way they set the stadium up, it's like a circle, and then all the countries are getting ready around the outside, and then you walk like underneath the stadium and pop out just inside it. And all I remember hearing was the crowd announcer said, like, "Welcome Team Australia" or something. And then you pop out on this thing, and just the noise was berserk. And it was weird, because you watch so many opening ceremonies and you see the Australian team, and then it was
all of a sudden you're there.
Oh my God, I was actually there.
Yeah.
So experiences like that were unbelievable. Just being in the Olympic Village, all those sorts of things were great. But I guess, it's always just been not quite right, because
that little thing at the back going, I was a bit underdone. We should have gone better than we did. Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess that's, if we go back to what we were speaking about before, why did I come back? It's because I genuinely think that we're going to be on the podium, and I wouldn't come back if I didn't believe that. And like, I'm so committed to making sure that happens. And it's just one of the things that I feel like I really need to do.
Who was the coolest person you met at the games?
I didn't meet him, but Usain had, I think, every girl from every country following him around, trying to take selfies with him. Obviously, there was some Aussies that you see floating about. Yeah, it was just crazy. None of the basketball guys were in the village. They were all staying on the US team was staying on some yacht off the coast. That would have been cool to meet some of them. But it's just like, your head's just on a swivel. Like, there's just size differences. Like, there's just absolute monsters. What we used to play when we were eating at the food hall was like, just guess what sport someone plays. So there's just Eastern European guys that are absolutely humongous that might be water polo blokes. Like, that would be my worst nightmare. Imagine some 6'6" beast trying to drown you.
They call it rugby underwater is what they call it.
Yeah, no thanks. So yeah, it's just one of those experiences that was just amazing, because you just got to experience like what it's like to be right in the mixer of an Olympics.
Did you, obviously it was pretty full on until you finished playing, but once you guys had finished the tournament, did you get a chance to enjoy yourself?
Yeah, we did, which is good. To, I guess, just let our hair down and enjoy the village and that sort of thing, and get out and see some of the sights and support some of the other teams who are still competing. That was really good.
How was it from the boys' perspective watching the girls go so well?
Yeah, I mean, they competed the three, so they competed on days 1, 2, and 3, and we were 4, 5, and 6, so we were straight after them. Incredible what they achieved, like amazing. That they got the gold. I couldn't imagine. Yeah,
I honestly think it's changed women's sport in this country, them winning that gold medal.
Yeah, 100% it has. Absolutely incredible achievement. I'm not sure personally. It didn't affect my preparation or my performance, I don't think. And I don't think anyone else in the squad either would say that was something that affected our performance. But just unreal what they were able to achieve.
Mate, I got some just random questions for you. It's just because of the way my brain works, so just bear with me. When,
Sure.
when you're when you're playing a tournament, obviously you got to get up for the game, play the game, then you've got a period of time between games. How do you guys manage that downtime to have to get up for the next game? Is it an individual thing, or is there something the team does as a unit?
Yeah, I think it's probably pretty individual. And I think that's something you probably learn as you become more comfortable, experienced, all those sorts of things with how sevens works and the pressure of each tournament. I know for me, if I was to keep that game mentality, or I guess just focus, intense focus for the whole day, like, that's like
You'd be exhausted.
over 12 hours. Yeah, it's just ridiculous. So I guess I've got a routine and the way the tournament works. When we start getting ready about 20 minutes to half an hour before our warm-ups each time, and that's, I might be putting my shorts on and that sort of thing. And then about 15 minutes before we go out, we've had a focus meeting, and I'll know the sorts of things that I need to start focusing on. There might be a tactical change. I'll talk to guys about what we're going to do on restarts, because the restart is such a big part of seven. So I'll just start having little conversations there, and then we'll warm up, play the game, and game will be done, straight in ice bath. And then
So
straight up.
after every game?
Yeah. After every game, jump in the ice for 5 minutes, then go have a feed. And then from there, depending on what the turnaround is, and what I'm feeling, I'll either have a sleep in between, or just lie down in a dark room, or if I'm not feeling too tired, I might just stay in the food area and just watch some of the games on TV. For me, it's just, and obviously then while I'm eating my food, I'll watch the game that we've just played, and watch some snippets of the opposition we're about to play, and that have just played their game as well. But yeah, like I said earlier, it's the tricky part is getting up and then down and then up and then down. But I guess the more you get familiar with it, that the easier it gets. I know. Yeah, it's just one of those things.
So it's something that you learn over time. Have you ever worked with a sports psychologist or anything like that to work on your processes and how you handle things, or is this just something you've learned yourself?
I guess by the time we started having a sports psych come in, I'd actually found something that I'd really liked. And I guess I was at a stage where I'd played over 30 tournaments, and I was pretty comfortable with how things were operating for me. The biggest thing, I think, is just understanding like when you need to be up and what's going to be best for you on the field. And it's tricky. Like I can remember in my early tournaments, you're like still in shock that you're there playing for Australia. And it's like the tournament day, and you're like looking around, it's like there's a massive crowd, like all this stuff going on, like, oh my God, I'm playing on the World Series. Like, this is what I've always wanted to do.
There's New Zealand over there.
Yeah, it's like, it's really tricky to go, okay, we've just had a game, we've played really well. Now, all I need to do is just chill out, and I don't need to be replaying games or worrying about other stuff. All I need to do is just chill for the next little bit. And I know that 15 minutes before I go out to warm up, I can cover off all the things that are important to ensuring I play well when I get back out on the field again.
Mate, what does a normal week look like for you guys when you're in like a pre-season type period? So you're ramping up for a tournament. Just say during the time you're ramping up for Rio, what was an average week like for you guys?
Yeah. So I'll just to be honest, there's not too much of a difference between pre-season and in-season for us, because the way it works is so on a normal World Series, we'll go play tournaments for back-to-back weeks, then we'll come back to Australia for maybe 3 weeks, and then we'll go away for 2 weeks. So we actually do like a mini pre-season in between each time we tour, because when we arrive there, we've got a week, and in that week, we're just trying to get acclimatized and recover so that we're playing well on the weekend. So we do most of our work as little mini pre-seasons back in Australia. So, yeah, our usual schedule is 3 main field sessions, and they'll be anywhere from, I don't know, 5 or 6 to.
Is that a day, or is that Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or how do they work that?
So the field sessions, so we'll be in at least 4 or 5 times a week, but we'll only be on the field to do big sessions 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
So not every day we're going out onto the field.
Okay.
The main field sessions are a combination of conditioning. So it might be either conditioning games, which we play like offside touch or drop off touch, or a variation of that, mixed in with a lot of 7-on-7 stuff. I don't think you can't really supplement just playing 7-on-7 against guys for anything. And then mixed in with that, it will be particular skills that we're trying to work on. So we might do tackle tech stuff. We might work on our restart for 15 minutes, tracking. All those sort of small parts will be mixed in with 7-on-7 stuff and our conditioning. So those will happen on at least 3 or 4 days. And then between that, we're doing 4 gym sessions a week. And I guess the priorities for that is around strength and power. So we don't really need to be carrying like huge amounts of muscle bulk. Because the heavier guys they're more likely to do soft tissues, and that with all the change of direction we're doing, we actually don't mind if guys are a little bit lighter within reason. I know I personally, when I was playing at Leicester, I was 98 kilos, and I play sevens at about 92 kilos.
Okay, so there's a bit of difference.
Yeah. And obviously just with that repeat effort sort of stuff, it's just going to slow you down if you're carrying all this excess mass that you don't need to be. So as long as guys are strong and powerful in collisions and that sort of thing, that's what we're trying to get out of gym. We usually have 1 or 2 indoor skills sessions, as well as the stuff we're doing on the field in between, the conditioning and that. And they're usually before the field session, so we like to call them like a little primer. So it might be working on different things like reflexes, hand-eye coordination with tennis balls. We play spike ball. I don't know if you've played spike ball.
I've seen it.
Awesome fun. The boys get around that. So just trying to mix up things to get guys ready to get out to training, so that when we get on the field, we're not going through that 15 to 20 minutes of warming into training. We're already ready to go. And then obviously there's all the usual things, looking and reviewing other teams, reviewing our own training, recovery, ice baths, physio, all that sort of stuff.
Do they do Bronco fitness tests for you guys?
We aren't using it as our standard fitness measure at the moment.
What do you guys use?
I couldn't even tell you what mine is.
What do you guys use?
We're doing the yo-yo.
Okay, what's an average score of the yo-yo for you guys?
Oh, I'd say the average is, well, we're actually testing on Monday.
Do they tell you what they want you to get?
Yeah, so Rugby Australia has guidelines, and I think optimal is above 20, competent is between maybe 18 and 20, or 18 and a half and 20, and then less than 18 might be work on, or whatever the terminology is.
Okay.
So I guess we'd like most of the guys sitting ideally above 20, but probably around somewhere in the 19s there is the average.
What's Tim Walsh like to work with?
Yeah, I've got a fantastic relationship with him, and I think he's a fantastic coach. I think the thing that I noticed straight away when I came back and he was coaching is just the detail in the preparation that he goes to. He's just thought about everything. Each team has a specific, I guess, tactic that he thinks, well, if we do this, we can get a little edge here. I guess his philosophy is that we have an overarching theme of, okay, this is what we're going to do in attack, this is what we're going to do in defense, and this is what we do with our restart. And then within that framework, we can just make little tweaks to each team. So I don't know, we might change our restart depending on what team we're playing. With our attack, we might look to play back to the short side more often, or
So just when you were talking about the attack for different, when you were talking about the attack for different teams down the short side.
So just basically just saying that we have general structures, but the ability to just make small tweaks to, I guess, take advantages of teams' weaknesses or where we see opportunities is his big thing. And his whole mindset is just about preparation. If we're prepared and we've done everything that we can, then it's like there's no reason that we can look back and say, well, we should have done that or we could have done that. If we just leave no stone unturned, then it's up to us as players to go out and execute that. And part of the preparation is, I guess, ensuring that everyone understands their role, that they know how to execute their job. And in that way, we're just looking for guys to do the process and not worry about the outcome too much.
So in a sevens tournament, you can play up to 5 or 6 games, maybe 5 or 6 games usually.
Yeah.
When you're preparing for different teams, does this happen in the week of the tournament, or does it happen in the preseason block where you're at home, or both?
Yeah, so it'll happen. So you know how I said we've got those 3 weeks that we're back in Australia before we go away for 2 weeks on tour. Generally, we'll know our pool, which will be the first day of games. We'll know that at least 2 weeks out. So within that fortnight before we leave, we'll split up into different groups. Some guys will take the attack, restart, the ruck, defense, and we'll just pick out little things, watch a couple of their games from the last tournament, see trends, all that sort of thing. And then we present that to the team. And as a team, we come up with, along with Walshy's input, and I'm sure he pushes harder for some things and might steer the conversation in a certain direction, but we're essentially coming up with the game plan all together. And I think that's really important, because then there's that ownership, and we actually feel responsible for, all right, well, I went and I saw that in the game. I understand it because I wasn't just told it, I actually saw it happen. So I've got an understanding of it. I'm owning it, and now it's on me to go out and actually make that happen and execute. So yeah, we do all that stuff beforehand, and we almost go over it so much that it gets a bit repetitive. And then so when we get to overseas in the tournament week, we're not going over 6 or 10 PowerPoint slides. It's just 1 or 2 PowerPoint slides, just covering off on the super important stuff, because the rest of that detail we've covered off in the preceding weeks.
Is there a difference between being captain of the sevens team and just being a normal squad player? Like, do you have any additional roles and responsibilities that you have to do compared to a normal guy?
I guess in the week of a tournament, there's a bit of extra stuff. They've got the captain's photo at each location, so go out and do that, and there's usually a bit of media stuff that comes with that.
What about your role within the team? So,
yeah, I guess. Yeah, there's certain things where I guess, well, if you look at on the field, for example, a lot of it might look pretty quick and frantic, and we're always taking quick taps, but me and the guys that are controlling the game, so that the halves will usually make decisions of, are we going to say we get a penalty and it's slow? Are we going to kick for touch, or are we going to play to a tap move? At each halftime, what you'll see is all the boys go in and take a breath together, and me and Walshy will chat around what we're seeing for 20 seconds while the boys are just taking a breath. Walshy and I'll have a chat, and then I'll go and deliver the messages for what we want to work on. That was something that we introduced about a year ago, and the feedback on that's been really good. So, and then I guess away from it, the big thing for me is just trying to set an example and make sure guys set an example with the way I train, and then trying to make sure that guys are feeling good, that they are getting the most out of the program. What can we do as a squad to help someone else? If they've got any questions, just ask, and seeking that out, because I remember as a young guy, you don't always want to ask, but if someone comes up and says, not in a team meeting, like, that can sometimes be overwhelming. Maybe it's just like, I know that there's a lot of new information, like, is there anything that you need help with in our defense system? Because I know it's a bit daunting at first, but or do you want to come watch training with me? The laptops are up there. We sit down and we'll watch huddle together. Or, okay, we've done some new lineouts. Why don't we just do half a dozen lineouts at the end of training? Let's do that. So stuff like that. I just making sure that everyone is comfortable with what we're trying to achieve, and so that when we get out there, it happens.
Awesome. Mate, I won't keep you too much longer. I'm really grateful for your time. I've just got a few random questions. I've got to ask, how is Nathan Lawson going in the program?
Fantastic.
I've lost you. I know you're there.
You got me?
No, I've got you again.
Yeah, he's been super impressive. A guy that, he's had a couple of opportunities to play in the domestic tournaments that we've had in recent weeks in Narrabri and Armidale, and I think, everyone's been impressed with how he's going. He's definitely taking the opportunity that he's been given, just because when he gets out on the field, just carries hard, and he just does the simple stuff well. And he's asking questions about, all right, if we're in this situation, like, what should I be doing? And guys that you can see genuinely want it, like, that's the best when you're in a team and guys are going, all right, like, can I go over this stuff with you? Or like, what do you reckon we should be doing here? Like, I love it when guys come up and ask questions and want to like be better and help contribute to the team. And sometimes, well, actually a lot of the time I don't have the answers. It's more of a discussion. Like, I don't know, what do you think, or what are you feeling in this situation? But Nate's been, he's been super impressive. I'm keen to see him. We got it, and hopefully we got an Oceania tournament or two actually coming up.
Are they going to do that in Australia?
May. Yeah.
In Australia? Okay.
Yeah. So if he gets an opportunity there, it'll be super exciting to see how he goes against New Zealand and Fiji.
Mate, he's honestly one of the most natural rugby players I've ever seen. So it's not a surprise to me that he's going well there. What about life after rugby for you? How many more years do you think you've got left? And have you got an idea what you want to do after you finish playing?
Well, to the first part of that question, I would love to go for as long as I can. This is just, to me, it doesn't get any better than playing rugby professionally. Like, I go to work every day and it's like, how good is this? Like, it's so lucky. That's probably one of the things that I've taken out of the last year is like, how good is it to be able to travel the world, play in front of big crowds? Like, it's just, I'm so lucky to do what I do. I mean, I'm off contract at the moment after the Olympics, but I'd love to stay around and potentially do another Olympic cycle. I'm turning 28 this year, so hopefully I've got a few more years left.
So you still feel it? You're still feeling good?
Yeah.
There's no real end in sight.
No, not.
Beautiful.
I'm hoping not anytime soon.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. What?
Yeah, and then post footy, I've done a Bachelor of Commerce. I finished that in 2017. So, yeah, I've done bits and pieces of work experience with different companies, and I haven't found anything that I'm 100% locked in. But I guess the great part about rugby is that you meet such a diverse range of people who are passionate about the game, and just trying to make the most of interactions and people that I'm lucky enough to meet and stay in touch, and who knows what might happen down the track.
Who's the best player you've ever played with or against?
The coolest player I've played against I'd have to say, well, I marked Joe Rokothoko when I was playing at Leicester. He was playing at Racing, and people will say, yeah, he's not in his prime, but I grew up watching him like just be an absolute beast. So when I found out I was marking him, and marking him in the game was like one of the coolest things I've ever done. Dan Carter was in that team as well. In terms of sevens players, I don't know that there's anyone better than Moz. Like, Maurice Longbottom is just, he is outstanding. Like, and he had some things in his game that he had to work on. He'll be the first to admit that his defense when he first joined wasn't great. If you watch our games now, his work in defense and his work at the ruck, he's just brought that game up to in line with where everyone sees the fancy stuff in attack, but the other stuff he's brought up in line to that level. And yeah, he's amazing.
That's a very big rap considering how long you've been around. When I was talking to a couple of mates about you, so we've got a couple of mutual friends. Henry Hutchison, shout out to the great man, and obviously Jed Holloway. Why do they call you? So I've come across 2 nicknames for you. Jed calls you Moose. Mm-hmm. Where does that come from?
That came from the strength and conditioning coach when I first joined the program. He's now at the Brumbies, John Mitchell. He one day he basically decided he was just going to give everyone nicknames. And so... Sorry,
you're right, buddy. Just printer just started printing for no reason.
The printer's just... Yeah. Yeah, basically just in typical Mitchie style, he's just like, all right, today, boys, I'm giving everyone a nickname. And there's not going to be any reasoning to it. I'm just going to pick a random word or whatever, and that's going to be a nickname. And he goes, all right, well, Malouf, yeah, that sounds like Moose. All right, you're Moose. And I was like, yeah, righto, Mitchie. That'll be gone by tomorrow.
And it's stuck.
And yeah, now my mates, basically everyone except my family call me Moose. My mates who I went to who went to school in Brisbane, they call me Moose. Like, yeah, I can't remember who it was, but one guy actually told me he thought my legal name was Moose for like a month. And then someone must have said Nick Malouf or something. He's like, what the hell? Like, I thought his name was Moose. So yeah, it sounds weird when someone calls me Nick.
It could have been a lot worse than Moose, just quietly. So you're lucky.
Yeah, you got that. Exactly. No, I'm happy with Moose. It's just, yeah, as you say, he could have gone a lot worse.
Mate, it could have been Stunt Cock, for example.
Yeah. Well, that's not bad. That's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing.
Yes. Yeah. True. The other nickname, Hutch told me they call you Dad.
Yeah.
What's that about?
That's basically because I'm just boring and yeah, just sub in any range of synonyms for boring and old and probably poor dress sense. Not that Hutchie can talk.
That's very rich. That's very rich from him.
You know what Hutch's nickname is, though, don't you?
No.
The Guru.
Well, because he knows everything.
Yeah, because you just ask him. He's the expert on anything.
I'll definitely be clipping that and putting it on Instagram.
Yeah.
What was the other thing he told me? He said you've got an obsession with your lawn.
Yep, I sure do.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, well, that probably goes into the dad thing as well, doesn't it? Something that some old bloke would be into, not some young hobby. I laid new turf in COVID, and yeah, I can't get enough of it. My favorite time of the week, apart from being at training, my favorite time of the week is getting the Honda lawnmower out and running over my Sapphire Buffalo. And yeah, I could go on, but I don't. You might start losing subscribers.
Oh, mate, who cares?
To the podcast.
Yeah. Oh, mate,
no, it's good. It's one of the things that, yeah, I think you got to have a few things away from footy that you like doing. The lawn's one of them. I love surfing, getting to the beach.
That was going to be my next question. Have you got any hobbies outside of lawning and rugbying that you get into?
Yeah, I love.
Obviously,
I live
surfing.
Pretty close to the beach, so I love surfing. Do a bit of reading, and cooking's probably the other thing. I don't mind cooking. I've got a beef bourguignon on upstairs at the moment.
Is that the Donna Hay recipe?
No, it's Julia Child's, I think. Yeah,
I think I might have done that one. It takes a while. It's like a one pot type thing.
Yeah, it's good.
Fantastic. Bro, last question, and I'll leave you alone. What advice would you give your 18-year-old self?
I think the biggest thing for for me is just make the most of any opportunity you get, and you never know who's watching or where or who's going to hear about your reputation or what kind of person you are. Yeah, for me, I was never making rep teams through school or anything, but everyone gets their opportunity at some stage, and if you're always putting your best foot forward, then you can never, I guess, walk away with regret and say, well, I wish I had done this or I wish I had done that. Yeah, just make the most of every opportunity and put your best foot forward when you get one.
Mate, beautiful way to end. Good luck in Tokyo. Hopefully it all goes ahead. Good luck with all the Oceania stuff coming up, and thanks very much for your time, man. I really appreciate it. It's good to meet you.
No worries, mate. Thanks for having me on.
No, mate, my pleasure. I'll let you know when it's up. Thank you so much.
Perfect. Cheers, Duncan.
All right, bud. Good to meet you.
You too, mate.
Catch you, man. Bye.
See ya.